and we'll be up late watching that. But it is purple season around here, even though it's fake football on Thursday night. You know, this guy likes real football, fake football, flag football, fantasy football. He's into all of that. He is my dear friend and lifer buddy, Brian Baldinger. We welcome Baldy back. You can follow him at NFL Network, anywhere the great game is played, as well as at Baldy NFL out on Twitter. And, you know, I like how you put pictures of you and Hall of Famers up now, up on your Twitter there, Baldy, because you work with about a fistful of them, right?
Well, I mean, it was. I just finished a really great camp tour that took me to 11 camps in 12 days, Nasty, and it was great because if you just read, if you just read what's being said in the NFL right now by any writer or coming out of any stream, it's nothing about the game. It's about contracts and it's about players and it's about injuries, but it's not about the game. And so when I go to camp, I sit with the general managers or the PR director or some coaches I know, and I watch camp. And I see it through my lens, and I see the competitiveness. I see the weaknesses. I see young players that I don't know. It's eye-opening to me. And there's so much to actually talk about that's between the white lines that is so far away from the conversation that everybody else seems to be having.
Well, and around here, it's about Colin Kaepernick, and obviously, and it's about Colin Kaepernick everywhere. The league is powerful, and I know you know that from a personal standpoint, but he deserves to have a job, right? I mean, I don't think there's anybody that would say that he doesn't, but I'll tell you this. I mean, I came to his defense, and I asked Goodell the tough questions, and I think it's a very, very unsound thought to take 3,000 football players, a majority of which are of color and of various backgrounds, and say, if you speak out, you're not going to work in this league anymore. That's a really dangerous thing for the NFL to be putting out there. But I'll tell you what, last Wednesday when his girlfriend down in Atlanta is tweeting out slave references, if I'm Steve Bisciotti, I would tell him to go, slam a duck, as we would say in Dundalk, and I wouldn't bring him in. I mean, I see that as offensive. I really do.
Well, it is offensive. And, Steve's got a balancing act now. He really does. I mean, they went through Ray Rice, and that wasn't handled real well by the league, and that was tough. And, that really came back to haunt the Ravens. That's not really that far removed. That's just 3 years ago, Nasty.
Well, and it still gets brought up anytime there's controversy. Yes. We're the Ray Rice and the Ray Lewis franchise, and, and that really personally eats at Steve. That matters to Steve. That doesn't matter.
Well, it does matter. It does matter. I mean, they just practiced at the United States Naval Academy, on Saturday night. So, I mean, it's hard. It's a hard situation. But I do believe that Colin Kaepernick, independent of whatever his girlfriend is tweeting or saying or whatever, I do believe he deserves a chance to play football. Some of it is his fault. Some of it is he opted out of his contract. He wanted to be a starter. He's not going to be allowed to go start. He's going to have to compete wherever he goes. He wants to be paid as a starter. So, I mean, that kind of prohibited a lot of people from being interested, but that's all behind us. I believe he's going to get a chance to play, and what he does with that chance is what he does. I don't really look at it as a second chance. I don't think he needs really redemption. He made a stand. He stands for what he believes in. We're supposed to have that right. I don't have any real issue with that. But when things are being said about things that his girlfriend said, I mean, you kind of have to step back and look at all of this and how it's going to play with your fan base, because your fan base is not going to stay quiet on one way or the other. They're going to speak out, and sometimes it's on one side of the fence that can lead an owner to kind of take a step back, like I think maybe Steve has.
Well, and, obviously the Miami situation over the weekend, and probably that's kind of special because of Gase and his relationship with Cutler, but, boy, you're kind of scratching the bottom when you're luring guys out of retirement in early August who, quite frankly, I mean, I don't know that there were a lot of teams that would have been jumping to make Jay Cutler their starting quarterback this year, right?
No, they weren't. But, it took one situation. I mean, you just connect the dots here. The only team that would have made the call to Jay Cutler was Miami, and it's strictly because of Adam Gase and the relationship they have and the years that they had. I think they had 1 or 2 years together in Chicago, and Jay happened to perform well with them, and there's a lot of respect between the two. It's the only, I mean, it was just an independent situation. That's all it is. It's not snubbing, Colin Kaepernick or anybody else. This is the only place where Jay Cutler could have gone to go back and play. He couldn't have gone back to Chicago and played. It had to be Adam Gase making the phone call and basically recruiting him, because that's what he did. He recruited him to come out of retirement, out of the Fox booth, where he had a really nice job waiting for him, a really nice job with some really good people in Charles Davis and Kevin Burkhardt. But, it's $10 million, the chance for 3 more, and a chance to be a starting quarterback again with a guy that you really like on a team that's pretty talented.
He is Brian Baldinger. He is Baldy NFL out on Twitter, and our friend out on Facebook as well, and the Travel Dog. And, part of the Travel Dog is, I've been over in Dublin with you, too, and Paris, and looking around London for our Wembley trip. I got a big party planned on Saturday, as you know I do, Baldy. But you've been camping at 11 different camps, and we obviously have some fake football going on here. It feels like there's more tumult going on with the Ravens than in other places. First off, let's start with the quarterback. The whole offseason, losing Pitta, losing Tavon Young, losing Crockett Gilmore, losing Kenneth Dixon. It's been a very messy, sloppy couple of months here from the Ravens' perspective. I don't know that he's going to fix that here in the preseason, but getting Flacco upright and getting him somehow some protection and in sync with these wide receivers, most Raven fans are, very much of the wait and see right now, because they have a lot to prove here in Baltimore, right?
Well, yeah, and you don't leave Nico Syracuse out, who was playing pretty well as a rookie. I was on the field when he tore that ACL last Tuesday. It was so unfortunate. Look, they're snake bit. I played on a team one year, Nasty, that had 8 different guys break their fibula. 8 guys, and one guy had never missed a game in his life, and he broke his leg. I mean, sometimes it's just a nasty rash. It's happened to the Ravens. You know how John Harbaugh is going to treat this. It's going to be the next man up. It's another opportunity. I mean, all the things that coaches say is what he has to do, but it's tough. I mean, they haven't made the playoffs in 3 out of 4 years. We see the Pittsburgh Steelers, your vaunted rivals, go to the AFC Championship game last year. Heck, they could have had a reversal. They couldn't stop Antonio Brown from the 1-yard line last year, and a chance to maybe win the division. So it's that close. But really, this preseason is about Joe Flacco, because they're not going anywhere. I don't care what they do. Ryan Mallett, Colin Kaepernick, they're not going anywhere unless Joe Flacco can line up and play 16 for you. And so that's really, they can overcome a lot of this, because I believe the defense is still going to be very good. You got to allow, Jeremy Maclin and some other players to kind of work their way into the lineup and figure out what the role in Marty Morningweg's offense is going to be and Greg Roman's offense. So, but Joe Flacco is paramount, because they're not going to do anything without Joe. So I don't know just where that's at, if it's more precautionary than it is pain, injury, whatever, but Joe's an integral part, as everybody knows, and that's got to be their priority right now.
Say something real nasty about the Redskins, Baldy. You're on the air in Baltimore. Go ahead.
I think that the Redskins have 2 position coaches, in Bill Callahan and Jim Tomsula, that are as good as any position coaches in football. And
both former head coaches, by the way, and sort of quote-unquote failed head coaches, although Callahan had a Super Bowl in there somewhere, right?
Yeah, he did. So they didn't last long as head coaches, but they're back at their roots, the offensive and defensive lines, and I think therein lies a real strength for the Redskins. I think they're going to be very strong on both sides of that ball, and they got a quarterback that's playing for a big contract. There's a lot to like about the Redskins, even if I am so bold to say that inside,
in the Baltimore Beltway. Yeah. We don't want to hear. The quarterback.
I'm not going to gush. I know better. I'm not going to gush.
Well, the quarterback situation there with Cousins, that's been a curious thing all the way around. And it's not for me to spend other teams' money. We're trying to do that with the Orioles around here in regard to Machado and Scope. But the Redskins handled their business a little curiously here this offseason, did they not?
Yeah, some of it is you got to look at the history of it. He has a good year and they win the Final Four, and they go to the playoffs in 2015. They get bounced right out. And so is Cousins the real deal? So Scott McCloughan's the general manager at that time going into next year, and he wants to see, can he back it up? Is it real? Was it just a strong finish? Is it more than that? And so they sat on the sidelines, and they gave him, the money last year. And, and then Scott McCloughan's bounced out for whatever reason, and they're kind of waiting to see. Do they give him the Derek Carr type of contract that might be out there for him, or don't they? And they whatever they put in front of him, he said he could do better. He would rather play it all out. Maybe hit free agency, maybe not. Who knows? But I'm going to play it out. And so I don't know. Some of it is on Kirk Cousins. He knows he's got a couple places. If you looked at the Jets in San Francisco right now, they may be very inclined to pay Kirk Cousins, Derek Carr kind of money to come in and be their quarterback for the next 5 years. So they're in that situation because how well Kirk Cousins has played.
He is Brian Baldinger. Baldy NFL is the way to follow him out on the NFL Network show. What would I say you do for NFL Network? I mean, sometimes you're on a field, sometimes you're in a studio, sometimes you're in front drawing up plays, sometimes you're arguing, doing sports radio. What is your, just analyst? Is that what I'm going to call you?
Yeah, just an analyst.
You really do create a lot of roles there, though, right?
Yeah, you try to wear as many hats, when the draft comes and you sit in the draft room and you do Path to the Draft and you do a lot of those shows and, you talk about the college kids that are, the bumper crop like, Tim Williams and, what he looks like in Baltimore, right now, and Jonathan Allen, what he looks like in Washington, whatnot. And so you got to kind of get a head start and all of that. So yeah, whatever role is needed, I feel like I can fill it.
Well, certainly you gushed about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I mean, I saw your Facebook feed. I thought that you were going to become a position coach there. I thought Smitty was going to recruit you, or Dirk Cutter down there was going to recruit you in. There's a lot of energy down there, right? I mean, that's something I didn't know that I took from your post down there, that the Buccaneers fans, we played down there 3 years ago. Baldy, there might have been 8,000 people there at kickoff. I mean, it was the worst crowd I've ever seen in a place that wasn't like Memphis, literally, for an NFL game. Flacco threw like 3 touchdown passes on the first 3 drives, and there was no one there. And I remember that stadium, obviously, in 2001 with the Ravens winning. And I remember, them flying the flags when they get inside the 20-yard lines and the pirate ship and all that stuff. All that's been gone for a long time. But the Bucs did have it going on about 15 years ago. It's been a little quiet. They're a better team, and I don't think they're going to sneak up on anybody this year, right?
Well, that was 3 years ago. So, 3 years in the NFL, Nasty. A lot of things can happen. So they are a young, energized group. They've got a good nucleus of players. The quarterback is for real. He's a natural-born leader. He's a tough guy. He's lined up and played 32 straight games. They had a streak last year, Nasty. They won 5 in a row, and they went to Dallas, and the game was in the balance in the fourth quarter. They went toe-to-toe with the Cowboys, and they couldn't finish some drives, and they lost. And so they have done a good job. Jason Light, the general manager, I think has done a good job of building this team, adding some parts. The good thing is they're in a good salary cap situation as opposed to a lot of teams in this league. And so they've got a lot of guys coming up that they've got to figure out, how to get signed, and they got the money to do it. And they went out and got Deshaun Jackson and Chris Baker and, some really good players. They're going to fill spots, and they drafted O.J. Howard and Chris Godwin. And so, the buzz is real. They, like all young teams that have been acquiring talent, they still have to go do it. Jack Del Rio talked about it last year in Oakland before they went 12-4. It's like, yeah, we know we have some good young players, but we have to go put it together, and they did until the quarterback got hurt last year. And so that's what Tampa Bay's job is. They're not out there beating their chest, and they're not saying about, we need respect. They're not saying any of that stuff, which is good. They have to go play in a tough division. And they got to come away with 10 wins at least this year and show improvement and, maybe get in the playoffs. It's the toughest NFC conference I can ever remember. Well,
I was going to say, that division's a hellhole right now. I don't know that the Saints are going to be any good, but they were almost a 500 team last year. I know Breeze is getting a little older. I know the Panthers are going to bounce back, and I don't think the Falcons are going to have this, swan dive after really choking away a Super Bowl over the course of an hour and a half last February.
I spent yesterday with the Falcons, and if you haven't met Dan Quinn, I'm sure you've talked to him, interviewed him, whatever.
Salisbury guy, yeah.
Yeah, he is, and he's a special guy, and I think that he's in the right place at the right time in his whole career. He started at Hofstra University and worked his way up and did college jobs and in the NFL as position coach. But he's in a position of leadership. And just talking to him yesterday, I don't believe the Falcons will nosedive. Now, I didn't believe that the Panthers would last year at all, that they would do a 6-10 flip-flop like they did last year. But I don't believe the Falcons are. I think that they're built for the long haul. I think defensively they've added more speed. They're getting better. I think offensively they can be dynamite again, although replacing Kyle Shanahan will not be easy with Steve Sarkisian. But, I think that they're well led. And they practice well. And I don't know, there's something about that team I like. But that division is going to be tough, really tough. And the NFC East is going to be tough. I've seen all 4 teams in the East. All of them have gotten better in some way. So those are two divisions by themselves that I think everybody can compete.
Well, obviously with the Cowboys, running the football and where they are, and we got one of their cornerbacks here in Brandon Carr, but I don't know that you could be better than 13-3. That's a lofty goal. They had a pretty special year last year to have fallen short at the end. I don't know that they can be better than they were.
Well, they may not be 13-3. They were 13-2 going into Philadelphia Week 17 last year, Nasty, and they sat Ezekiel and Dak, and so they kind of gave it to the Eagles. I'm not saying the Eagles wouldn't have won, but they were looking at 14-2. They may very well not be 13-3 or 14-2 this year. I don't think they will be, but they still might be a better team. And the only way they're going to be better is if they win playoff games. And so that's what it's all about right now, going forward. Is they got to win playoff games and they got to advance. It doesn't matter really what the record is. That's a team that has got to start winning playoff games and big playoff games, and some of them may not be at home. And so that's how they're going to be defined this season.
Baldy, you live up there with those folks in Philadelphia, across the water there in Cherry Hill. Any reason to be excited? I mean, I know you do a lot of radio up there with my boy Matt Nahagian and the Fanatic and all that stuff, and you're a Philadelphia guy. How's my boy Schwartzy doing up there, and are the Eagles bound for being a better team this year?
Well, if you have any corners that are looking for work, Schwartzy will take your call. He'll take your call down here in Philadelphia, Nasty.
I can't run a 4-2 anymore, man. Those days are over for me, bud.
All right. If you got any ball skills, if you do anything special out there, you cover, I don't know, Brandon Stokely or something like that. That could really help them. But they're an improved team. It all starts with Carson Wentz. It's just a little known kind of fact out there. The Eagles have won 3 championships in their entire history. And in all 3 cases, the quarterback wore number 11. So, if you're an Eagle fan right now and you look at Carson Wentz who wears number 11, maybe there's some fate in that. But the kid is flat out special. He had an unbelievable day yesterday. He's had a great camp. He's going to go as far. They're going to go as far as he takes them. They've got deficiencies right now, in the secondary, maybe some at linebacker. But they're an improved team, and I think Carson is going to take a big jump this year from his freshman year. So the Eagles have a lot of reason to be optimistic. I mean, they can win in a tough division. They can win 9 or 10 games for sure.
Brian Baldinger joining us here, Baldy NFL out on Twitter, and our dear friend. If you're looking for him, find him on the internet because he's never home. He's always bouncing around doing studio work out in Los Angeles and camping. So far, 11 camps for you. Baldy, we're taking our first trip over to London. And when I first met you 2 decades ago, we're doing those shows up there at the Vault and NFL Films. You were doing NFL Europe. You're over in Barcelona and Frankfurt, London, and all these other places. Having seen this 2 decades later now, almost, since your playing career ended, these games in London and the thoughts of being over there, I know you lived over there for long stretches of time. Some thoughts about the NFL over there and what our fans are going to see from a football perspective. I mean, I went and saw the stadium, and I'll tell everybody, the stadium's a dump right now. It's a mess. I mean, the entire outside, all the parking lots there are cranes everywhere. It's the same.
Which stadium are you talking about?
Wembley, I'm talking. Wembley is a mess outside right now.
Really?
Well, it was a week and a half ago.
Beautiful last year.
Well, maybe on the inside, but the outside, there is construction, there's housing going up, there are cranes everywhere. Yeah. The parking lots are destroyed. I mean, there are no parking lots there right now. Not that we're taking our car on the wrong side of the road or on the wrong side of the car as well, but from a fans being into it and understanding it, I keep hearing that people are buying these 4-packs over there and they're going to all the games, and the Jaguars are a little bit of the home team, which I think is difficult with their losing. But this is going to be an interesting time for Ravens fans to go over there and experience this thing. I really don't know what to expect. I don't.
They're going to have a great time, Nasty. The fans, they bring almost Premier League passion to the game. They're far more educated than you believe. They're not sitting there going, why is this ball not round? What is this oblong shape? They're not asking those questions. They're educated. They follow the game religiously. They watch it on Sunday nights. They watch 2 games live every Sunday. They watch all the analyst shows. I'll be over there, I think, October 29th to do some analysis for Sky Sports. I've been to the games over there. It's a party. I mean, you're tailgating now. Look, tailgating at the Big Crab Cake is great, but it's a different level. It really is. And so it'll be a carnival atmosphere, a state fair type atmosphere. It'll be a lot of fun. There'll be something going on everywhere. The hotel, the Hilton, is right across the street. It's convenient as hell. You can just roll out of bed and walk right to the stadium in 2 minutes. It's going to be. You'll have the fans that come. They will have a great time. Now, I have talked to the people in Jacksonville, and they go every year. It is there is so many logistics to work out to actually put a team over there. I'm all for it. I think somebody will really benefit. I think there's a lot of money to be made. I think the NFL will eventually have a team there, but how you get paid, taxes, is it the pound, is it the dollar? I mean, there's just so many things to work out. I think they're a long ways away yet.
Baldy, we're a long ways away from the start of the football season, but we're going to blink, and it's going to be opening day.
It's true.
It's the beginning of camp, all these fake football games that you seem to enjoy, maybe more than some of our fan base does. But anyway, man, the Redskins are coming in on Thursday. You know how I feel about them, so that angers up the blood when I see the burgundy and gold. So it does feel like football season. Hey, man, appreciate you as always. We're always following, always proud of you, and always looking for you at an NFL Network, man.
My pleasure, Nasty. Anytime, buddy.
Casa DeBaldi is where to be up there in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. He's never there, though, even though he has a wonderful garden right now. I've seen the vet. I want to just come eat from his garden is what I want to do. You can follow Baldi NFL out on Twitter. You can find me out in the Buy a Toyota Audio Vault 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world on your mobile device by downloading the TuneIn Radio app. We do come in crystal clear from wherever you are. Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, and streaming live on our Facebook, as well as our YouTube WNST TV channel. And if you're going to London, toss me an email, nasty@WNST.net. We want you at our party on Saturday. Our tailgate's going to begin the day before. It's going to be perfect. I am Nestor. We are WNST.net AM 1570 and WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports